Hey there, folks. Gather round for a minute, will you? I'm an old-timer who's walked a few miles in these worn-out boots, seen the ups and downs of life from the Dust Bowl days to this digital whirlwind you kids are caught up in. Name's not important, but I've been following the ways of Lao Tzu for darn near half a century now, ever since I picked up that little book, the Tao Te Ching, during a rough patch back in my younger years. It saved my hide more times than I can count. Now, I ain't no professor or guru, just a fellow who's learned to roll with the punches by listening to that ancient wisdom. And today, I'm talking straight to you millennials and Gen Zers out there, the ones scrolling through your phones late at night, wondering what the heck the world's coming to, chasing meaning in a world that's spinning faster than a rodeo bull. You guys are smart, ambitious, but I see that worry in your eyes, that search for balance amid all the chaos. We'll pull up a chair. Let's chew the fat about handling the uncertainty of tomorrow, Lao Tzu style. Chapter 1. Facing the Storm. Why Tomorrow Scares Us Silly. You know, back in my day, we worried about the bomb or the economy tanking, but nothing like what you're facing now. These days, it's like the ground's shifting under your feet every which way. Economic instability? Shoot, it's everywhere. Inflation's biting hard, jobs are vanishing into thin air with AI taking over, and folks are scraping by paycheck to paycheck. I read just the other day that more than 7 in 10 adults, that's 77%, say the future of our nation is a major source of stress in their lives. Can you imagine? That's most everybody walking around with a knot in their stomach, fretting about whether they'll afford a house, raise a family, or even retire without going broke. And you younger ones, you're hit hardest, saddled with student loans that feel like anchors, gig economy gigs that promise freedom but deliver burnout, and a housing market that's priced you out before you even start. It's no wonder so many of you are rethinking the whole American dream, looking for something deeper than just climbing the corporate ladder. Then there's the big one, climate change. Lordy, it's staring us right in the face. Wildfires raging out west, hurricanes pounding the coasts, droughts sucking the life out of farmlands. A fresh poll shows 65% of Americans are at least somewhat worried about global warming, with 29% saying they're very worried. And get this, a record high 48% now see it as a serious threat to their way of life sometime down the road. You kids grew up with this hanging over you. From school drills about extreme weather to those viral videos of melting ice caps. It's not just some far-off problem. It's messing with your plans. Where to live, what career to pick, even if it's worth bringing kids into this mess. Add in global challenges like pandemics that shut down the world overnight, geopolitical tensions bubbling up like a pot about to boil over, and tech disruptions that make yesterday's skills obsolete tomorrow. No surprise that 43% of adults feel more anxious this year than last, up from 37% before that. Heck, it's like living on a roller coaster blindfolded, isn't it? But here's where I chuckle a bit, because I've been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt. You see, all this fear of the unknown, it's as old as humanity itself. We humans love to plan, control, and predict, but life laughs right back. That's why I turned to Lao Tzu. That wise old sage from ancient China didn't have smartphones or stock markets, but he nailed it in the Tao Te Ching. The way to peace ain't in fighting the flow, but in riding it. The Tao, that natural path of things, teaches us to accept change as the only constant. It's like a river carving through rock. It doesn't force its way, it just goes with what's there. And for you folks hustling in this fast-paced world, searching for that elusive balance between ambition and sanity, Lao Tzu's got the key. Trust the natural flow of life, and watch how it eases that grip of fear on your heart. So, stick with me here, you bright young minds. We're just getting started on how this ancient wisdom can steady your ship in these stormy seas. Chapter 2. The Fear Trap. how uncertainty ties us in knots. All right, listen up, you young bucks and gals out there hustling through this crazy world. I'm sitting here in my old rocking chair, sipping on some black coffee strong enough to wake the dead, and thinking about how fear's got a hold on so many folks these days, especially you millennials and Gen Z types, the ones born into a whirlwind of screens, student loans, and a planet that feels like it's spinning off its axis. I've been around long enough to see a few storms come and go, from the Great Depression echoes in my grandpappy's stories to the oil crises and all that mess in the 70s. But shoot, what you're dealing with now, it's like trying to bail out a sinking boat with a teaspoon. The fear of what's coming next, that unknown future lurking around the corner, it's paralyzing good people left and right. And let me tell you, with a little chuckle, it's exactly why old Lao Tzu's words hit different in times like these. But we'll get to that wisdom later. First, let's chew on why this fear's got its claws in so deep, especially for you younger crowds searching for some dang balance in a world that won't sit still. Now, don't get me wrong, I ain't one to sugarcoat things. The biggest bogeyman staring us down is this economic roller coaster we're all strapped into. Heck, just look at the numbers coming out this year. A whopping 73% of American workers are struggling to make ends meet, caught in what they're calling the wage crisis of 2025. Inflation's eating away at paychecks like a moth in a wool sweater. Jobs are vanishing faster than ice cream on a hot sidewalk, thanks to AI and whatnot. And folks are scraping by from one bill to the next. More than half, 54% of us working stiffs say job insecurity's jacking up our stress levels sky high, with 39% fretting they'll lose their gig in the next year due to policy flips and economic wobbles. And you know who feels this pinch the hardest? You millennials and Gen Z kids. A fresh study shows 83% of Americans are hit with financial stress from inflation, layoffs, and skyrocketing living costs. But it's slamming you younger ones worse. 67% of millennials and 58% of Gen Z report it's messing with your heads big time. I see it in the stories you share. Families sitting around the kitchen table wondering if they can afford that next mortgage payment or put food on the plate without dipping into savings that ain't even there. It's like planning a road trip with no map and a gas tank on empty. Pure paralysis. Then there's this whole climate mess hanging over us like a thundercloud ready to burst. Lordy, it's staring us right in the face with wildfires out west, hurricanes hammering the coasts, and droughts sucking the life out of farmlands. A solid 70% of Americans now see climate change as a serious problem today, up from years past, with folks across parties, heck, even most independents and non-MAGA Republicans agreeing it's hitting us hard. And get this, over half, 55%, say it's messing with our mental health, triggering anxiety that's as real as a bad dream you can't shake. You kids grew up with this shadow, from school drills about freak storms to those viral clips of melting ice caps. It's not some far-off bogeyman. It's messing with your plans, where to plant roots, what job to chase, even if it's worth bringing little ones into this wild ride. Families I know are eyeing their backyards, wondering if the next big flood or heat wave will wipe them out. No wonder 64% think developing clean energy should be a top priority for the bigwigs in Washington. But here's the kicker. We can't control Mother Nature any more than we can lasso the wind. And that illusion of control, it just amps up the fear, making folks freeze up instead of facing it head on. And don't get me started on these global headaches piling on. Pandemics that shut the world down overnight, conflicts bubbling like a pot about to boil over, and tech disruptions making yesterday's skills as useless as a screen door on a submarine. A new report calls it America's 2025 stress crisis, with nearly 40% of us hitting our limit from election chaos, global costs, health scares, work grind, and relationship strains. Uncertainty's rewiring our brains, fueling anxiety and depression like never before, with folks feeling powerless in a world that's unstable as a three-legged table. Take pandemics. We're still reeling from COVID, and now whispers of the next big one keep families up at night planning futures that feel like building sandcastles at high tide. Conflicts abroad? They're not just news. They're stoking fears here at home, with geopolitical tensions making everyday Joes wonder if tomorrow's safe for their kids. And for you millennials and Gen Z, it's hitting hardest.
You're stressed than us old-timers, with surveys showing you folks overwhelmed by uncertainty around jobs, housing, and just plain surviving. I chuckle sometimes thinking how we used to fret about the bomb, but now it's this web of worries, economic slumps, climate disasters, pandemics, wars, that's got us all tied in knots. See, the real gut punch is this illusion we chase, thinking we can control it all. Lao Tzu would say that's like grasping at water. It slips right through. We plan and fret, building walls against the unknown, but life's got a way of laughing at our blueprints. That resistance, it just cranks up the anxiety, turning worry into a full-blown storm in your head. Families I know, heck, maybe yours too, are staring at empty nest eggs, wondering if retirement's a pipe dream or if the next hurricane will wash away their home. It's paralyzing because deep down we know control's a mirage, yet we cling to it like a life raft in choppy seas. And for you younger crowd chasing meaning in this fast-changing mess, it's like running on a treadmill, exhausting with no real ground gained. But hold on, don't let this get you too down. I've seen enough sunrises to know storms pass, and that's where old Lao Tzu comes in handy, teaching us to flow with the current instead of fighting it tooth and nail. You millennials and Gen Z, with your smarts and fire, you're the ones who can turn this tide if you learn to ride the waves. Stick around, we'll unpack how in a bit.
Chapter 3. Flow Like Water. Lao Tzu's Fix for a Shaky Future. All right, you young go-getters, now that we've chewed over all that doom and gloom, the economic roller coasters, the climate curveballs, and those global gut punches that keep folks up at night, let's shift gears to the heart of the matter. Now I'm grinning a bit here in my easy chair, because this is where old Lao Tzu shines like a lantern in the fog. I've been walking his path for decades, ever since I stumbled on that slim book during a stretch when my own world felt like it was crumbling. Back then, I was about your age, millennials and Gen Z crowd, full of fire but tangled in worries about what tomorrow might bring. You know the drill, chasing jobs that vanish overnight, scrolling through feeds that scream crisis after crisis, all while hunting for some real meaning in this breakneck world. Balance? It's like herding cats these days. But Lao Tzu, that wise old sage from way back in ancient China, he's got a blueprint for riding out the uncertainty without losing your cool. Pull up close. I'll lay it out plain and simple, with a wink and a nudge, because life's too short for stiff lectures. First off, let's talk about the Tao itself, that big, flowing force Lao Tzu calls the Wei. It's not some fancy philosophy locked in ivory towers. It's the natural rhythm of everything around us, the pulse that keeps the universe humming without all our meddling. See, in Lao Tzu's eyes, change ain't the enemy. It's the norm, the heartbeat of life. Everything shifts. Seasons turn, rivers carve canyons, and yeah, economies boom and bust while the climate throws its tantrums. We humans, though, we fight it tooth and nail, trying to nail down the future like it's a butterfly under glass. But the Tao teaches us to lean into those changes, to see them as part of the grand dance. For you folks navigating this wild ride, jumping from gig to gig, dodging student debt like potholes, and wondering if the planet's got your back, embracing the Tao means ditching that white-knuckle grip on control. It's about flowing with what's real, not what we wish was. Lao Tzu puts it sharp. The way is eternal, formless, and complete, always adapting without forcing a thing. Sound familiar? It's like that app on your phone that updates seamlessly. Quiet, effortless, but always evolving. Now here's the gem that ties it all together, and I chuckle every time I read it because it's so darn spot on. In Chapter 8 of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu says, "The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strive. It flows in places men reject, and so is like the Tao." Picture that for a second, you savvy young minds. Water don't push or shove. It nourishes everything, crops, critters, even us thirsty humans, without breaking a sweat. It slips into the low spots folks turn their noses up to, finding its path around boulders and through cracks, never resisting, just adapting. That's the Tao in action, soft, yielding, but unstoppable.
In a world where you're bombarded with headlines about stock crashes or melting ice caps, this water wisdom flips the script. Instead of freaking out over the unknown, like whether your startup will tank or if the next storm will flood your block, let it flow. The fear melts when you stop battling the current and start riding it. I've seen it in my own life. Lost a job in the 80s recession, thought it was the end. But by going with the flow, I landed something better, richer in ways money can't buy. And that brings us to u-wei, or what Lao Tzu calls non-action. But don't get it twisted. It ain't about sitting on your hands doing zilch. No, sir. It's action without force. Effort that's in harmony with the natural order. You strive less, trust more. Like a farmer who plants seeds and lets the rain do its thing instead of wrestling the clouds. In the Tao Te Ching, it's all about doing by not overdoing, letting life unfold without our ego calling the shots. For you millennials grinding through side hustles and Gen Z kids building portfolios in a shaky market, u-wei's your secret weapon. Quit micromanaging every twist, that promotion, that climate policy, that next pandemic scare, and tune in to the bigger flow. Trust the Tao's got a rhythm, even in chaos. I've watched friends burn out chasing certainty, but the ones who ease up, they find doors opening they never saw coming. It's sneaky smart. By accepting uncertainty, you slash the fear that ties you in knots, opening space for real possibilities, like pivoting to a green job amid climate woes, or turning economic dips into chances to reinvent. Look, I ain't saying ignore the problems. Lao Tzu wasn't no ostrich with his head in the sand, but linking his teachings to your world means viewing not knowing as fertile ground, not a trap. Change is the only sure bet, and the Tao whispers to roll with it water-like, nourishing your path without the struggle. You bright sparks out there with your apps and ambitions, you're primed for this. Ditch the resistance, embrace the ebb and flow, and watch how that knot in your gut loosens. It's worked wonders for this old coot, and it'll steady you through whatever curveballs 2025 and beyond throws your way. But talk's cheap without putting it to work, right? Hang tight. Next up, we'll get practical on weaving this into your everyday hustle.
Chapter 4. Finding Your Tao. Practical Steps to Ride the Waves. All right, you young whippersnappers, we've been through the ringer together, haven't we? From the gut-churning fears of economic slumps and climate chaos to the way old Lao Tzu's wisdom flips that worry on its head, teaching us to flow like water through life's mess. I'm sitting here, creaking in my old wooden chair, with a grin that comes from knowing life's storms don't have to sink your ship. You millennials and Gen Z folks, you're the ones I'm talking to, the ones burning the candle at both ends, chasing meaning in a world that feels like it's running on fumes. You're juggling rent hikes, job switches, and a planet throwing tantrums, all while trying to carve out a life that feels worth living. Now, I ain't one for empty promises, but Lao Tzu's way of riding the Tao can steady your feet when the ground's shaking. So let's wrap this up with some real deal, practical steps to handle the uncertainty of tomorrow, plus a few stories from folks who've walked this path and come out stronger. Grab a coffee or whatever you kids drink these days, matcha, kombucha, and let's get to it. First off, let's talk about putting Lao Tzu's ideas into your day-to-day grind. The Tao ain't some dusty scroll you read once and shelf, it's a way of moving through life, especially when the future is about as clear as a foggy windshield. Step 1, carve out time for stillness. I'm talking about a simple breathing meditation, nothing fancy. Find 10 minutes, yeah, I know your phone's buzzing, but hear me out. Sit somewhere quiet, maybe your couch or a park bench, and just focus on your breath going in and out, like waves lapping at the shore. Lao Tzu's all about the present moment, because that's the only thing real. When you're fretting about next month's bills or the next big storm, your mind's running laps in a race that don't exist. Studies back this up. Mindfulness practices like this can cut anxiety by up to 38% in folks dealing with high stress. I started doing this back in the 90s when my business tanked, and let me tell you, those quiet moments kept me from losing my marbles. For you, it's a way to anchor yourself when the world's screaming about stock crashes or wildfires. Step 2, grab a notebook and start journaling your fears. Sounds simple, maybe a little hokey, but there's power in it.
Write down what's got you spooked. Losing your job, the climate going haywire, whatever's keeping you up at 2 a.m. Don't judge it, just let it spill out. Then, next to each fear, jot down one thing you can do today to ease it. Maybe it's saving $10 a week for a rainy day, or signing up for a community cleanup to feel like you're fighting back against the climate mess. Lao Tzu's u-wei, non-action, ain't about doing nothing. It's about acting in harmony with what's real. Journaling helps you see those fears as clouds passing by, not permanent fixtures. I know a gal, Sarah, a millennial from Austin, who was drowning in worry about her freelance gigs drying up. She started writing it out, saw her fears for what they were, temporary, and pivoted to teaching online yoga classes. Now she's thriving, not just surviving. The numbers agree. 67% of young adults report better mental clarity and less stress. You can do the same, turning uncertainty into a roadmap instead of a roadblock. Now, step 3, and this one's my favorite because this is where the magic happens. Find your own slice of the Tao. Ask yourself, what brings you peace, even in the chaos? For some, it's painting or playing guitar. For others, it's hiking or baking bread that smells like heaven. Lao Tzu says the Tao's in the simple stuff, the things that make your soul hum without needing a paycheck or a million likes. I got a buddy, Mike, a Gen Z kid from Seattle, who was stressed out of his mind working tech support during the 2023 layoffs. He took up gardening. Nothing big, just a few pots on his balcony, and found it calmed his nerves better than any app. When the next round of job cuts hit, he didn't panic. He leaned into his plants and landed a gig at a local nursery, happier than a pig in the mud. That's u-wei in action, finding your flow, not forcing it. Heck, 72% of young adults say hobbies like these help them cope with life's unpredictability. So whether it's strumming a tune or cooking up a storm, find that one thing that grounds you. It's your lifeline when the future's murky. Now, let's talk real stories, because nothing drives it home like seeing others walk the walk. Take Emily, a millennial mom from Chicago. She was terrified of the future. Climate disasters, job insecurity, you name it, until she stumbled on Lao Tzu in a used bookstore. She started small, 5-minute meditations each morning, writing down her fears, and spending weekends volunteering at a community garden. It didn't fix the world, but it fixed her perspective. She stopped trying to control the uncontrollable and started teaching her kids to love nature, even in tough times. Or there's Javier, a Gen Z coder from Miami, who got laid off when his startup folded. Instead of spiraling, he leaned into the Tao, took up surfing to clear his head, and ended up launching a freelance app that's now paying his bills and then some. These folks didn't chase certainty. They embraced the flow, and it led them to places they never expected. That's the Tao's gift. It turns uncertainty into a guide. Here's my 2 cents, you bright young souls. And I say this with a heart full of hope. The future's always going to be a wild card, but you don't need to outrun it. Lao Tzu taught me, and I'm passing it to you. Let go of the need to control every darn thing. Be like water, flow, adapt, and nourish what's around you. Start small, breathe deep, write your fears, find your peace. The Tao's not out there in some far-off place. It's in you, right now, waiting for you to trust it. I've lived long enough to know life's got a way of working out when you move with it, not against it. So, take it from this old coot. Lean into the unknown, and you'll find strength you didn't know you had. Now, if this hit home for you, hit that subscribe button and join our little tribe here. We're diving deeper into Lao Tzu's wisdom next time, tackling how to stay calm in the social media storm. Don't miss it. Stick around, and let's keep flowing with the Tao together.